it's me, Charlotte360, and I'm inspired to do this video today because I don't want to do another full video about the Hybe SM Cacao Align Partners drama. I have no interest in it anymore. It was cool when it started, but now I'm sick of it. Everyone I know is sick of it, and it's also gotten to the point where it's like just absurd. So it's hard to talk about it because everything is so absurd. Like recently, there was a Twitter account made called SM with Hybe to basically get fans on board with SM being under Hybe, which I don't recall Hybe ever doing this with Pledis. I don't recall them doing this with Source. This is a privilege just reserved for SM. But it's stupid. It's stupid. We're all tired of seeing, hey Sarah, we're all tired of seeing Hybe SM drama. We're tired of everything. Apparently, Isuman did win the injunction against Cacao and SM in terms of reissuing the new shares. However, there was a clause in his contract with Hybe that said that they weren't going to allow him to dismiss the lawsuit against Hybe and SM about the reissuing of shares, which is very weird. Also, Hybe has bought shares in a bunch of these subsidiary companies that Isuman owned that were like basically robbing SM blind. So yeah, there are no good guys in this story. The current CEOs of SM are not good guys. Cacao are not good guys. Align Partners are not good guys. Hybe is not a good guy. I don't care if you're a company stan. There are no good guys in this story. However, I'm inspired to do this video today because Hybe did, or not Hybe, Bang PD did a segment with CNN basically alluding to the fact that SM and Hybe need to get together because K-pop is in jeopardy. It does not have as big a market share as other forms of music like Afro beats and Latin music, and so he's trying to get K-pop to be more of, I guess, an integral part of Western pop, to get it more of a global thing, to have it have more sure footing in the global sphere. I laugh at the idea that Hybe purchasing SM is going to make K-pop more of a market force, because how does Hybe owning SM make K-pop more secure? How does it make K-pop more popular? The only thing it does, it either allows Hybe to get rid of their biggest competitor in the market, NCT, and they'll probably end up buying YG and getting rid of their other biggest competitor, Blackpink, even though Blackpink really isn't a competitor anymore. But NCT absolutely is a big competitor in terms of market share against Hybe's TXT and even a little bit of the BTS stuff. And so all it does is bring either the money in-house or it gets them to shut down NCT. That's really the only thing that it does for Hybe. But in terms of making K-pop more global and making K-pop like a real standard in Western music, there's been nothing that Hybe has proposed or even done in the past that alludes to the idea that they would be able to do that. So I have actual ideas on how to make K-pop more of a global product. I actually have ideas of how to make K-pop be taken more seriously. And I would love to share those ideas with you because I think it's important, and I think that it's something that, I don't know if Bang PD is not thinking of it and he just needs me to generate these ideas for him. They're ideas I've been promoting for a really long time, but maybe they just needed to be all consolidated into one video. So let's do that. Number one, let's start with actually defining what K-pop is. I think the idea that Hybe is working with is that K-pop is any music in the global sphere made by Korean artists. I think that's their definition of K-pop. And there's nothing wrong with that definition of K-pop. I think that that's a perfectly standard, easy to understand concept, and I think that would work out for a lot of people if we were to say that was the definition of K-pop. However, those of us who have been fans of K-pop for many, many years will tell you there is something kind of undefinable about K-pop that's really unique and like really is kind of limited to the culture of being a K-pop fan. And I think if Bang PD and the people that he's working with would take a broader look at what it means to be K-pop, I think then they could understand how to make K-pop fit into global markets. And that's something that I think we as fans can help them define, but also it's something that they need to spend money and market research on. K-pop, yes, it is Korean people making popular music. Sure, why not? K-pop. But that's really not what K-pop is. K-pop is the fandoms. It is the light sticks. It is the fan names. It is fan chants. It's this fan culture. And the problematic thing about trying to market fan culture and make fan culture a global phenomenon is that it is a culture. And when you're trying to translate a culture into other markets and into other cultures, something gets lost. There's always something that gets lost in translation. It's just like people in America eating Korean food. Yes, we have kimchi here, and we have jjigae, and we have tteokbokki, and we have all these things that you can get in Korean restaurants in America. But the thing is, we're still approaching it as an outside thing. It's not considered a part of American culture. It is considered Korean culture. It is considered an other. And when we go out to have Korean food, we say we're going out for Korean food. Whereas if we're going out for American food, we're like, we're going out for burgers. We're going out for tacos. We're going out for pizza, which I'm sure you're going to say pizza is Italian, tacos are Mexican. Trust me, the kind of tacos I'm talking about is Taco Bell, which is definitely American tacos. And when I'm saying pizza, I'm talking Pizza Hut, which is very far removed from the Italian version of pizza. But what I'm saying is, we don't say we're going out for bulgogi. We don't say we're going out for trying to think what's another thing, japchae. We're like, no, we're going out for Korean. We are saying it is a foreign thing. So what's going to be really hard to market about K-pop, and Bang PD needs to spend more time researching this, is how do you translate a culture and make it into something that loses its foreignness while at the same time remaining as original as it's been. And if he wanted to have something historically that he could look at and say, this is how you do it, he'd have to look to hip hop. He'd have to look to hip hop because hip hop had its own culture in the 80s before its global expansion in the 90s and 2000s. And different cultures took different things from hip hop, while in essence appropriating and kind of losing the base kind of traditions of hip hop. And so we've now gotten to a place, we're now 50 years into hip hop according to the Grammys. And because we're 50 years into hip hop, we're now at a place where we can look at hip hop and we can say, okay, this is genuine hip hop because it adheres to the spirit of hip hop culture, as opposed to somebody who's using hip hop signifiers but not really a part of hip hop culture. And so we've had 5 decades to kind of synthesize and transmit hip hop around the world, but it started with a very specific culture, and the way that it spread out is that some things were gained and some things were lost. Some people only saw hip hop as appearance, some people only embraced hip hop as a musical genre, and some people embraced hip hop as it's the breakdancing, it's the graffiti, it is the fashion, it is the slang, it is a lot of things, not just the music. And so Bang PD really does need to find a way to translate K-pop and its culture outside of just this kind of like trendy, fatty thing that people have had for the last 5 years. The other issue, and actually not even the last 5 years, the last 10 years really, because we're counting Gangnam Style and moving forward from there. The other thing that he's going to have a real problem with is that part of the reason why hip hop was so easy to translate around the world is that hip hop always came across as organic. Like hip hop developed on the streets of New York. It didn't develop in boardrooms. It didn't develop in huge corporations. It really and truly developed on the streets, in the clubs, on the street corners, and it was something that people engaged in without any idea that it was going to become a moneymaker. And as it became a moneymaker, it still held its place in large part as an art form. K-pop doesn't have the bona fides for people to see K-pop universally as an art form. And what Hybe would have to do, and what other K-pop companies would need to do, is they would need to find a way to translate to other groups that K-pop is an art form. And part of the reason why that's so hard to do is because people see K-pop as so derivative of other genres, but lacking any kind of fundamental fiber or weight or any kind of depth. And so that makes it really hard to get people to take K-pop seriously. And nothing that Bang PD has done with BTS in their journey into the West has really solidified that they even take K-pop seriously. And I'll tell you where I come up with that statement, because I don't want you to think I'm being a hater. I'm not. I actually really enjoyed BTS when they first started. They felt a lot more organic than other groups. And I think that's important for me to note, because that organic feeling made people invested in the growth of BTS. And for a lot of people who were early adopters and who have kind of withdrawn their support or withdrawn their interest, it's because BTS has felt more like a product now than it ever felt at any other time in the group's history. And so if Bang PD is saying, I know how to make K-pop global, the way that he's done it is by basically taking out that thing that felt like an intangible, but that also was a strength for that group. And he synthesized it into something trendy. He synthesized it into something easy to process, easy to digest, no filler, no nutrition, just straight up sugar candy pop. But the thing is, like I said, what drew people initially to want to yell from the streets, follow BTS, was the organicness. And so K-pop has to find a way to establish organic sounds, establish something true, establish something that people say, oh, this is that je ne sais quoi of K-pop. This is that undefinable, unique thing that makes K-pop K-pop. And there are some K-pop things from the past that we can look at and be like, oh, that's pure K-pop. Like I can look at crayon pop and be like, oh, that's pure K-pop. Or I could look at Orange Caramel and say that's pure K-pop. But you could also look at an artist as serious as IU and say she is pure K-pop, even though she is a very serious and accomplished artist, both in music and in acting. But there has to be something that people can say, this is a pure form of the art, and this is an organic form of the art, so that people can latch onto it and people can respect it and people can try to emulate it. Right now, when you see foreign people trying to do, I say foreign people, even though I'm talking about Americans, Europeans. When you see Americans and Europeans trying to do K-pop style groups, it is so bizarre, because it is an American or a European doing a parody of the bubblegum that they see in K-pop, which in and of itself is kind of a bubblegum parody of the Spice Girls, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, New Edition, Boyz II Men, One Direction. Like it is a parody of a parody of a parody, you know? And so I think that we need to kind of go back and be like, okay, what made something like Gangnam Style work? Because outside of the video being silly and being funny, the song had a hook. And it was fairly certain when you looked at it, at least the first time before it was just everywhere, that when Psy was making that video, there was no thought about how is this going to pass over Western audiences. This was strictly made for a Korean audience with a bunch of inside Korean jokes, but somehow or another, the catchiness of it and the general fun, levity, inspiration behind it was contagious enough to make other people want to latch onto the music and be like, I like this. I want to enjoy this. I want to hear this over and over again. I could say the exact same thing for BTS initially. Like when you look at, if you look at Blood, Sweat, Tears, if you look at that one, it definitely is something where they might have thought, okay, Western audiences might be into this, but also this was like, we're trying to give them the highest form of BTS as art in this. And that's what made it work. That's what made it blow up. And then moving forward from that, I don't think a lot of people respected DNA the way they should have. I thought DNA was amazing, but a lot of people, they just really didn't get DNA. I could say the same thing about Idol too. I think a lot of people gave Idol short shrift. But Fake Love, again, it really felt like it was something that a lot of time was taken in crafting it, a lot of songwriting time was taken in crafting it, and it really came across as like, this is a statement from our group. And so That's the reason why I feel like it translated, it worked. And I don't think that songs like Fake Love were divisive for the fandom, because even old fans were like, yeah, this works, I really like this. But then after that, it was like, we are going to be collabing, well, not even after, because like during this same time that we're getting DNA, Idol, Fake Love, we're also getting the collaborations with, oh, what's the name of that fucking group? I hate them so much. The ones that did the song with Halsey, just meet me in the corner of your Rover with your sofa. I don't know what the fuck that band's called because I hate them. You know who they are. Anyway, they did the collab with them. They did the collab with Ed Sheeran. They did the Coldplay song. They had Halsey appear on Boy With Love. They had all of these collaborations with, thank you, the Chainsmokers. I hate them. They had all these collaborations with Western artists that were anything but organic feeling. Once they really started to reach for Western audiences, the songs they were doing with Western audiences didn't feel like the songs were written together. They didn't feel like BTS was really putting their stamp on anything. It didn't feel as if these artists even really necessarily wanted to participate with BTS because they were such big fans of BTS as a group. It really and truly felt like they were told by their PR department, here's a good opportunity for you to make some new fans. There is this thing, quick sidebar, there's a thing going on with The Weeknd and his new show called The Idol on HBO, where it's being accused of like massive amounts of misogyny and Sam Levinson is a monster and so on and so forth. It was this article written by the Rolling Stones about it, and The Weeknd posted a tweet in response saying, Rolling Stones, are you mad, bro? Something like that. Anyway, there's this scene that he posts on his retweet, and this is going to go back to the conversation we're having, where it's a scene of The Weeknd and this female pop star that he is managing, giving career advice to, talking to her agent about the idea of her doing an article for the Rolling Stone. And he is like, the Rolling Stone has 6 million followers on Instagram, half of them are bots. Meanwhile, my pop star has 78 million followers on Instagram. They're all genuine. So if she does a photo shoot and tags Rolling Stone, they get followers, she gets nothing. It is almost the exact same thing with BTS, where BTS has so many followers, they're the most tweeted about group, all this stuff is happening. Anyone who puts their name even tangentially in the universe with BTS, they get followers out of that collaboration. I mean, yes, Anthony, I promise you, the clip made me cringe too. Like, if I had balls, they would have shriveled. But I say all that to say, the way that Hybe did things is they didn't make a lot of these collaborations mutually beneficial. A lot of these collaborations really were, these are likes, these are clicks, these are views, these are a gain in followers. They really had nothing to do with building up BTS's brand necessarily, and they really super didn't have anything to do with like a further relationship between BTS and these artists. And you could start pulling them off on your finger about how many of these artists do you think still talk to BTS? Do you think BTS still talks with everybody who participated in Mic Drop? No. Do you think that the Chainsmokers still call up BTS and are like, hey, we should do another collaboration together? I'm sure the Chainsmokers are calling BTS because they could use the views and the likes, but I'm sure BTS is not answering the phone. Do you think Ed Sheeran is worried about... Thank you, Sarah. I'm gonna say that, but just I look again at like, well, I'm gonna say it since Sarah brought it up, Max and Yoongi. Do you want to know how I know Max before I knew BTS? I knew Max from Nickelodeon because my daughter was a fan of Max when he was with Nickelodeon. And then also, I think Max and his brother used to do covers on YouTube, and they did a cover of Suit and Tie that I really liked. So I knew them from their Nickelodeon YouTube star days. And then Yoongi did this collaboration with Max, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, look at them, they're such sweet friends. Yoongi's the godfather and Max a child, blah, 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 blah. No, this was literally a Hollywood kid who grew up trying to reclaim the limelight and said, my association with BTS can make that happen for me. And so even after Yoongi had stopped talking about this guy, he was like, oh, friend, oh, I'm so hyped for you. Oh, I like you so much, because he knew as long as he kept giving positive attention to BTS, more followers, more fans, more people wanting to follow his music, more people giving views to his music videos. And this is a man approaching his 30s where his pop fortunes are really starting to go down. And yeah, he's like, I'm going to keep on being on the BTS boat because it helps get people to give me views, clicks, likes, everything else. You know, John Cena for a while was a huge BTS fan. He didn't really talk about him no more. It's been that thing. And so just, you can almost look at Hybe's approach to Western music and Western validity and K-pop lasting in global spaces the same way you could look at BTS's collaborations with Western artists. It's a thing for a moment and then it's gone. It's a thing for clicks, views, likes, followers, and then it's gone. And it's because that's the way the label has treated this. That's the way it has been treated. Whereas if there had been organic relationships, if there had been organic friendships, if there had been things that felt like these were two people that have a lot in common, or these are two groups of people that have a lot in common, and they want to do things together, and they don't shout each other out because the press always asks, so what do you think about BTS? If it felt that way, and these were sustained relationships, I think that they'd make better fucking music. To be quite honest with you, I think the music would be better if these were real and genuine. And that's the thing about K-pop and the trick that will make K-pop last. K-pop has to find out what's true about it, what's genuine about it, what's artistic about it, and they've got to find a way to present that over and over and over again consistently for several years. And if K-pop follows the same trend that boy groups and girl groups do, then that means every 10 years it's going to go down. That's really what it means. In the early 2000s, the late 90s to the early 2000s was like the heyday of NSYNC, 98 Degrees, Backstreet Boys, you know, that big boy band time. And then it fell off for a while. And then in the late 2000s, early 2010s, One Direction, and it pops back up. One Direction, The Wanted, some other boy bands, Big Time Rush, that kind of thing. Then it kind of came down again, and what should have been the next kind of upswing for boy bands from Western sources like America, UK, instead it became K-pop and K-pop boy bands. Well, guess what? After a few years, it's supposed to go back down, and then it's going to come back up again. So rather than focusing on keeping a continued upswing of K-pop and trying to like not see a dip, follow the economic trend. And the economic trend is that there's supposed to be a dip for anywhere between 5 to 8 years. And then when it's time for it to come back up, make sure K-pop is the first one on the scene. Make sure K-pop is the definition of a boy band when it's time to swing it back up. That's the only way this works. That's the only way that this works. Be realistic. As well as presenting what's real about K-pop, be realistic about what can be possible in the market. We are oversaturated at this point. There are boy bands who don't even attempt to market in Korea. They do the bare minimum, hoping that international fans can keep them afloat. So let's be real about what's happening here. Also, let's break the system. That's the other thing that's a problem with a company like Hybe. Hybe's idea is to make basically the national Korean K-pop company, to put all of the biggest people underneath them and them be the ones who basically are the architects of K-pop moving forward. But when you compare K-pop to Afrobeats and to Latin music, there's no such monster. There really isn't. When you look at Afrobeats, people are coming from all over the continent and making music. And big stars are coming from little companies. And people are coming up through the ranks and building buzz and then moving into a bigger platform. There's no huge conglomerate that tells the rest of the world, this is what you need to be on. And that's the reason why it's so foolish to hear a company like Hybe say, if we all just get together and work together, we can take over the world. That's the shit that villains in superhero movies say. That's not the shit that the heroes say. And that's the problem with this whole thing, is that when you hear them say, oh yeah, if we all get together and we band together, we put all our resources into making sure that we always have a relevant foot in the door in America and in the UK, then we'll continue to succeed. But no other genre does that. And all it does is it makes K-pop feel smaller. When K-pop has a multiple amount of companies doing a lot of different things, that breeds more creativity. It helps with competition. It helps for diversity. And those are the things that can make something successful. Whereas if everything is in the same house, it is impossible to get that kind of variety. It is impossible to get something organic. And it's impossible to keep people from feeling like, oh, this is just another product that's being shoved down our throats. So that's the reason why, yeah, I want SM to stay a singular entity. I don't want them to fall under the umbrella of Hybe. It's not because I hate Hybe. It's because having diversity in the sphere breeds better content. Straight up. And that's the thing, that he seems to not get that. And I don't know how you could be so short-sighted and so in front of your nose that you don't get that, when you should get that. You should understand variety is the spice of life. And so I think that Hybe really does need to look at things a lot differently. I think they need to quit calling companies the Hybe family of companies. I think that it should be SM, small quotation marks, a subsidiary of Hybe. It should be the most quiet association in the world. It could be money in the back, but it needs to be absolutely disconnected when it comes to culture. Because otherwise, everything's going to feel and sound the same. And it's going to lose any hint of organicness. Also, let's talk for real about the way K-pop music is made. Because that also is super important. Not just the fact that it's big companies or whatever. The thing that needs to change in order to also make K-pop be able to live in these spaces is that the way K-pop music is currently made, it's made under such a factory system that you don't get as much individual input. And to be honest with you, a lot of us can tell that these idols hate the music they make. They hate the music they make. They hate the dances they're forced to do. They hate the clothes they're forced to wear. They hate the personalities they have to put on in order to be able to get into my pocketbook. If you could get artists to be more a part of the process, if you could make it to when they collaborate with other artists outside of K-pop, that it feels like a real and true collaboration instead of a behind-the-scenes video of about 5 to 10 minutes making it seem like, oh, we were actually in the studio together. Instead of doing that and like pretending it was collaborative, let it really be collaborative. You know, if Hybe wants to throw their money behind something in order to make K-pop better, throw your money behind making music. And I say making music specifically because I'm thinking about Sweden. So Sweden puts a lot of money into the arts, into people actually being able to leave school and pursue a career as a songwriter, a producer, an artist, and it being considered a real career, not like fluff. And that's where you get the Max Martins of the world, right? I think that if Hybe wanted to really make K-pop stick and really make K-pop a force and a factor, he should be putting his money into setting up academic tracks for Korean kids that doesn't fall into becoming an idol. Make academic tracks that makes the best producers come from Korea, that makes the best songwriters, the best choreographers, the best graphic designers, the best fashion designers come from Korea. That way, the artists that are developed within that system and are the best at what they do, the best at song construction, the best at image consultation, they're not just going to be working in Korea, they're going to work all over the world. Max Martin is a Swedish man who makes music that plays all over the planet. He is a many times over multi-millionaire just from writing music, just based on the royalties that he's put out there in the world. He's been writing music since Ace of Base back in the 90s. back when I was in middle school. He's been writing music for a really long time, but he writes all your biggest pop songs. He helped write Blinding Lights. He helped produce it. Like, he is that guy, right? But he came from an infrastructure that supported music study, that supported being able to be the best at songcraft. And because of that talent and that support structure, he's been able to take his talents and bring them all around the world. And in the wake of doing that, he's been able to pull several other Swedish songwriters, music producers, everybody else, and pull them all around the world. And when you look at the credits of SM songs, you see a bunch of really foreign Nordic last names. And that's because those same people who maybe aren't the Max Martins of the world, but got their education in Swedish schools, they're writing music for the SMs of the world. So do the same thing, but in Korea. And then that's how you keep K-pop global, because you keep a pathway, a pipeline for Korean people to be the arbiters of culture. Max Martin has created the pop landscape we're in now. He's had 30 years to do it. He has created this current pop landscape. So if Hybe really wants to put their money where their mouth is, it's not in buying SM, it's by starting a fucking university. Because that is how you are the person who is the arbiter of culture, by being the person who creates the culture as we know it. So yeah, these are my ideas about how to actually fix things instead of just throwing money at the problem and hope it sticks. Because yeah, TXT does okay, NCT's doing all right, Blackpink could do better. Twice, they just recently did a Women in Billboard award show. People like them. But a lot of these artists that I just listed are being treated like novelties. And why are they being treated like novelties? Because they're being crafted and presented like novelties, to be fair. And so if you want long-term life in the game, you've got to make something that feels real in order for it to stick. And the last thing I'll say is this. I am concerned about if the idea is to lean out the company. If Hybe decides that, underproducing units need to be eliminated in order to make SM a money-making corporation, I could see them deciding that SHINee is not a money-making entity. I could see them letting go of Super Junior. I could even see them pulling back from supporting EXO. But what Hybe should learn from SHINee before they make that decision is that SHINee has a massive amount of respect from within Korea and outside of Korea. Routinely, SHINee releases from both solos and from the group end up on several Western playlists of best albums of the year or best song of the year. They're seen, they're noticed. And part of the reason why they continue to show up there is because SHINee is invested in what they make. When you look at a Taemin project, you know for a fact Taemin was in that bitch. He might not have written the song, but he definitely worked on that fucking dance. He definitely told them what kind of visuals he needed for his Sex Dungeon music video, right? And I think that's something that Hybe could really learn about. SM doesn't do a lot great, but one thing they did is they did excellent artist development. And over the years, you've seen these kind of awkward teenagers who really didn't seem like they were doing things on their own, who really just seemed like they were smiling and happy to be there. But over time, you've gotten to watch how Girls' Generation has morphed into these multi-talented ladies who are acting, modeling, designing, singing, doing all these things. You've seen the same thing with SHINee. You've seen them glow up until you've got variety, you've got television, you've got, solo stardom, all these things. And that's something I think Hybe could learn from. So before they throw the baby out with the bathwater, just kind of look and see, how do you age a pop star? Because that's something that SM has done better than almost anybody on the scene. Super Junior has had the opportunity to become old with SM. Boa has had the opportunity to have a multi-decade career with SM. Kangta still gets a check somehow or another. And that man, why? Like, SM does do some things very well in ways that don't necessarily show themselves in music. However, along with artist development that allows them to have prolonged entertainment activities and allow them to be able to be a part of the culture much longer than what's the standard age and life expectancy for a boy group, this allows those artists to influence the market for those that are coming up. The reputation that SM has because of their legacy artists allows their new artists to be taken way more seriously in Korea than other new groups, because people say SM has a legacy of talent and SM has a legacy of quality. And so people take SM groups super seriously because they grow and they have sustained careers. So nobody says, oh, well, we'll see what happens. We hope they last for 5 years. No. When Red Velvet debuted, no one questioned whether or not Red Velvet was going to make it past their 7-year mark. We were just waiting to see how big are they ever going to get. Because there is an expectation of excellence with SM. And it comes through looking at artists in a different way than what Hybe seems to be trying to advertise to the folks who have been company stans. So I hope that before Bang PD just rushes in like a bull in a china shop and starts dismantling things because he knows better, I will say this one last thing. Oh, FX is an outlier, but not really, because you know what? The girls from FX still have jobs. You know, that K-pop musical closed down, but for a while there, Luna had a job. Amber, not necessarily my favorite person in the world, not even close to it, but you know what? Somehow or another, Amber continues to have followers and get jobs. Crystal still has a job. The FX girls still, Victoria is killing it in China. The FX girls work. So even if they're not still with SM, they have a legacy of excellence. Even if the excellence is an excellence I do not personally understand. But the last thing I was going to say, and I just want to make sure that it's very clear, I don't hate Hybe, because I feel like a lot of this criticism, people are like, well, you're not seeing the good things about Hybe, and you're not getting that Hybe can be A, B, C, and D. No, I think there are good things about Hybe. If I didn't believe there were good things about Hybe, then I wouldn't be as excited and I wouldn't have spent money on New Jeans. I think New Jeans is a really fun group. I think that TXT is a really fun group. I think that in terms of being able to know what's the now in terms of global pop, I do think that even though there have been some missteps taken with BTS's Western trajectory, i.e. the whole Dynamite, Butter, Permission to Dance era, I can almost get with Dynamite in a way, because like Dynamite's not my favorite, but people love disco, i.e. Beyonce. And I can almost get with Butter because anything is better than Permission to Dance, but Permission to Dance, I still don't understand what the fuck is going on there. Anyone who tells me that Permission to Dance is one of their favorite songs, you have to give me your TED talk as to why that's a good song, because I still to this day don't understand it. And somebody commented they like the J. Cole, J-Hope collab. I haven't watched it yet just because I've had shit to do, but I will say this. I have a lengthy video on my channel about going through all of RM's Indigo, my thoughts, my general feelings, everything else. And I talked about how I felt about it. I also talked briefly about how I felt about J-Hope's solo endeavor, Hope in a Box. I think that, and this is just a general thought, but I think that this is a pretty valid statement to make. I think that the BTS solo efforts have been the most sincere and authentic thing we've gotten from BTS outside of anything they've done as a group, at least in the last, I would say, 4 years. Yeah, I would honestly say Dynamite, Permission to Dance, Butter, My Universe, I don't think any of that was done because the guys were just so excited to release this kind of music. But I think when you look at Indigo, when you look at Hope in a Box, when you look at whatever Jen put out, Astronaut, I don't know. I still have yet to really pay much attention to that project because it just wasn't my genre. But in the collaboration with J. Cole, I think that those things have absolutely been a more authentic BTS, and they're more in the direction of BTS what they should be doing. In fact, I remember when Wings came out, and I said that the format of Wings was the best format of an album that I had ever... Wow, Sarah. Okay, sorry. Sarah made a comment saying that someone said they missed the Permission to Dance era on TikTok, and it's just like, what? Why would you? Anyway, let's keep going. Wings, when it came out, had a solo song for every single member of the group, and then it had group songs. And I remember thinking every group should do this because it makes it to where the project, even if the group songs aren't the group's favorite, like if there was at least two people dissenting to this particular opinion, it still makes it to where everybody has a personal statement on an album. And I have said, like, that's perfect. That's absolutely what they should be doing. That's the way things need to be. And then during the Love Yourself series, I felt like they still had some solo songs here and there, but it really wasn't the best of times because they were like still trying to figure out what can we do that's authentically us, but at the same time, you know, satisfy some of these newer fans that we're trying to build. Got it. But the Butter Dynamite era, just vapid as shit, just completely shallow. And so when the group does come back to do group activities, I really, truly, and sincerely hope that the group kind of hones in to the solo interest again. I think they did that on their last full-length group project. They did like solo things, a couple of duet things, and then some group stuff. But I really hope they hone into that, and instead of just like, we're gonna do 5 group commercial written by Western songwriters songs and then we'll each have our solo thing that's just us, I really hope that they get together and they decide to keep it in-house, but not in-house like they did with the Quarantine album. When I say in-house, what I mean is like in-house in terms of let's stick with songwriters that we trust, songwriters that we have long relationships with, producers that we've admired since we grew up, people who we're collaborating with because we have personal relationships with them, people who we admire, and the reason why they're appearing on here is because even if we don't have long friendships with them, they're someone we've always wanted to work with. And I think that that is the way to move forward with the first BTS project after enlistment. I don't think you need to go for a grandma and grandpa friendly song. I don't think you need to go for a song that the kids are gonna like. I don't think you need to do another Soul Town Road type of thing. I think that what they really need to do is they really need to release an album where if there are collabs, all the collabs need to be with somebody that they genuinely feel like, I'm giving you our absolute best. What you are hearing is absolutely a statement of me. And that's how you do it. And don't think about commercial. Think about whether or not the song hits. Like when you hear it, does it make your ass wiggle? When you hear it, does it make you cry? When you hear it, does it make you think? Those are the only 3 things that they need to be worried about when they write these songs and they get ready to put this album together. Do not worry about whether or not the album is going to hit commercially with people who loved Permission to Dance, because those people don't fucking count. Instead, you need to be thinking about, is what I'm putting out something that talks to me in my soul? And that's the reason why I feel like it's valuable to put out. Is it something that even if it's not speaking to my soul, it is a good fucking time and I could see myself performing this night after night and never getting sick of it? Or I'm putting this out because I can't believe I got the opportunity to even make this fucking song and I want everyone to hear it because it's so fucking amazing. Those should be the only criterion for their group effort moving forward. But yeah, I hope Jimin's release is a success. It's supposed to be coming out this month and I really want it to work for him. I really hope that RM continues to make music before he enlists, even if he doesn't release it under his own name. I hope he leaves some songs for Jungkook for his project, because of course he's gonna have a solo project coming up soon, and you know, maybe some songs for TXT just to like keep his producer name out there. I hope that Yoongi, when he finally puts out his album, I hope that it's beautiful. I mean, he's touring, so I'm assuming an album must be coming. And Ticketmaster, boy, you a bitch. I didn't even try to get tickets for Suga's concert tour because it was coming nowhere near me and I wasn't about to pay for a flight to go see him anywhere. But man, you talk about no one stood a chance. No one stood a chance. I actually had better chances of getting a Beyonce ticket than I would have had to get a August D ticket. Also, by the way, if I haven't already told you guys, I got Beyonce tickets. I got Beyonce tickets. And I got good Beyonce tickets too. And I got them for a really reasonable price. I'm sorry. Totally unrelated to anything else here. I'm going to be seeing Beyonce this summer. I got section 110 seats, which if you know how stadiums work, then you know that section 110 is a great section. It is like the section outside of floor. Bitch. I got section 110 seats for $150 a piece before fees. That's right. I got one of them access codes because I signed up for the thing, like, you know, sign up to get the access code or whatever. The day before the tickets went on sale, I got an email saying, hey, bitch, you won. You're going to get a text message from us with a link, and then you're going to buy your tickets. And I was like, all right, it's on. Maybe I can get $1,000 ticket. Maybe the Lord will love me and I will get this ticket and I can pay my $1,000 and I'll be happy. I log into SeatGeek the day of, make sure I have my credit card put down. Like I do all the things that you're supposed to do to get ready for it. Put in my access code an hour before. Then I go back to the page at 1 minute to 2 o'clock because 2 o'clock is when they said I could start buying tickets. I log on, all of a sudden there's a, you're in the queue. And I'm like, oh, I'll be in the queue for a couple hours. No, ma'am, no, sir. I was in the queue for 3 minutes max. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing a page with seats. And I'm like, there's a bunch of green seats in the 100s. Let's just go down there and see how much these fucking tickets are, just to see if I can even afford one. I could afford two. They were $150, and I got them. Now, I'm not seeing Beyonce in Houston or Dallas, so I think part of the reason why I was able to get these tickets because I didn't get them in one of the venues that like is super max. I'm going to Arizona. However, I got 2 tickets to Beyonce for $150 pre-fees. With fees, it ended up being like $330, $340, so not super big on the fees. But yeah, I got Beyonce tickets. I'm going to be seeing Beyonce, and I'm going to be the section above floor. Woo! So yeah, I'm super excited. I can't believe this is happening. A moment like this. If you're an American Idol fan, you recognize. Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this. Oh, I can't believe it's happening to me. Oh, Kelly Clarkson, you're a star. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to go see Beyonce. I'm fucking pumped. It has been a goal of mine to see Beyonce ever since Renaissance came out. Because I'm not going to lie to you and act like, oh, I've always wanted to see Beyonce all my life. And no, my brother has actually seen Beyonce before. My brother saw Beyonce back when Beyonce was with Destiny's Child, and Destiny's Child did like the summer jam when we used to live in Texas. And he went to the summer jam, and somehow or another, he got a picture with Beyonce and Kelly Rowland and Michelle Williams. So my brother's actually seen them before. But Beyonce, I've always liked Beyonce, but I always felt like there was a little bit of remove from Beyonce because I always felt like Beyonce was making music for people other than me. And even though me and Beyonce are in the same age range, we're not the same age, but we're both in our early 40s. I was like, you know, I feel like she's making music for people younger than me. I feel like me and Beyonce absolutely don't have similar life experiences. So it's very hard for me to relate to Beyonce with all her regalness when here I am, but a mere peasant. But then Renaissance came out, and everything that I liked about Beyonce that was kind of like fragmented or never really came all the way together. Everything I'd ever liked about Beyonce coalesced into one perfect moment with Renaissance. Renaissance is a no-skip album to me. I'm not a big fan of All Up in Your Mind. Like, that's the only song on the album that I'm like, I could probably skip this every time if I wanted to, but like, it's a vibe, so I let it run. But yeah, Renaissance absolutely changed the game for me. I've never been one to follow Beyonce to when are the music videos coming out? When's the tour gonna happen? How can I buy the merch? I hope she wins the Grammys. I've never been that kind of fan of Beyonce. I've always been a casual listener, and I told other people, like, these are the songs I like, these are the things I recommend if you want to get into Beyonce, but I've never been a Beehive member. But Renaissance is special. It is such a special album. There is so much that K-pop could learn from Renaissance. Since we're talking about K-pop, Beyonce is a masterful person in terms of being able to like synthesize several different vibes and several different frames of reference throughout popular music history and turn it into one very singular, amazing moment. Beyonce managed to take, disco and house music and gay ballroom culture, and she turned it into something that's absolutely made for Beyonce, but also it gives perfect homage to where it came from. It's both original and also a perfect copy at the same time. It's the same thing that Bruno Mars does with Silk Sonic, where it's like, we're not from the 70s, but we're perfectly channeling the 70s. Beyonce did the same thing, except for she also made it current as well. So when you hear a song like Cuff It, you're hearing, Good Times by Chic. You're hearing a little bit of Daft Punk. You're hearing definitely, 70s and 80s disco vibes. But at the same time, you're hearing something that totally fits into the now. And I think that that's the other thing that K-pop really should be doing that they don't do enough of. K-pop hardly ever samples anybody. Sometimes they'll plagiarize, but they very rarely sample. And I think definitely K-pop needs to get on their sampling wave. There's a lot of really fun, kooky music in Western spaces that could absolutely be twisted and morphed into something that would absolutely fit K-pop. But I digress. Anyway, yeah. So special, so many things, just perfect. I remember when I heard Break My Soul, I was like, oh my god, Black Box, and it just wormhole from there, just fell into a wormhole of listening to old house music songs. Then the album came out and I'm like, oh my god, I hear Donna Summer, I hear Chic, I hear Taste of Honey, I hear the Commodores, I hear, just so many things. I hear, Gangsta Boo, I hear Lady of Rage, I hear all of these things that as a woman who's in the same age group as Beyonce, she took every part of our childhood. She took every part of us listening to our parents' records. She took every part of us being in middle school and listening to whatever was on the radio. She took every part of being in high school and thinking that you're grown. She took every part of the experience of being in church and having church tell you that if you enjoy being cute, then you're being sinful. And she synthesized it into an album that completely speaks to my life experience. And I am a fan. And I knew if I'll never get to see Beyonce in concert again, I got to see this tour. I have to see this tour because this tour is about me. And that's what matters. This tour, everyone else can come in your disco ball cowboy hats if you want to. I'm going to this tour because I need to see the visual depiction of my life's journey on a stage. So, yeah, I'm going to go see Beyonce, but I'm really going to go see Beyonce so she can sing my life. I'm totally pulling a Roberta Flack / Lauryn Hill, and I want to watch her sing my life with her words. Killing me softly. If you got the reference, you're my friend. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me. I know this was a very long live. I hope other people are able to come back and listen to the live. I hope that I've said something that has value. I hope I've given you things to think about. I hope that it helps you to kind of remove yourself from the whole, kind of mergers and acquisitions infighting part of the whole SM Hybe dynamic. And I hope it really gave you something to think about in terms of K-pop globally. And, why it matters that it's going to be Hybe continuing this pattern of trying to take over things. I have no doubt that Kakao would have tried to ruin SM. Like, I also need to put that out there because I don't think I did in the beginning. I said that everybody is a bad guy, and I meant that shit. Kakao taking over SM would not have been good for SM's art. Never. Because Kakao would have always been, what is the bottom line? Why are we spending money like this? Why are we doing passion projects? Everything needs to be trend-based. Everything needs to follow the charts. Everything needs to be a moneymaker. So Kakao's no better for SM than Hybe is. They really aren't. However, since it's an inevitability at this point that Hybe is going to own SM, it's up to us to try to campaign, and it's up to us to try to advocate for why Hybe needs to do something different instead of the harebrained, stupid plans they currently have. The harebrained, stupid, uninformed fantasy narrative that they're trying to feed us, that shit cannot sustain. We have to let them know you're thinking about this thing totally wrong. If you really want to get the fans on board, instead of talking about how you're doing this for the success of K-pop, just remember, no one gives a fuck about K-pop on a whole, except old fans. Second gen fans and third gen fans, they give a fuck about K-pop as a whole. Because back when second gen and third gen fans were building up their fandom, you were allowed to like more than one group at a time. These new K-pop fans only care about their favorites. They don't give a fuck about the whole of K-pop. In fact, for years, BTS fans claimed they didn't even like K-pop. They flat out said, I like BTS, I hate K-pop. Even in Twitter tweets now, they say, oh, the K-poppies got their panties in a twist. They call us the fucking K-poppies. How fucking dumb are you? So for Hybe to say he's doing this for the good of K-pop, just remember, the people who like BTS don't like K-pop. So fuck out of here with that narrative. Instead, you need to be telling people you feel that SM has something that Hybe needs. SM has a longevity that Hybe has yet to replicate because they haven't been around long enough. And you need to be saying, with SM's legacy and with Hybe's vision towards the future and our access to other mediums and other markets, we hope to come together to find strategies to make K-pop a more cemented part of the Western musical landscape. And in doing that, we're going to find a way to translate to Western markets what K-pop actually is. There, I wrote your PR statement. Pay me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I really hope that things work out for all of us. And if you're going to Beyonce in Arizona, you might see your bitch because I'm going to be there with the bells on. I'll talk to you later. Bye.